Well, greetings, friends, and welcome back to Sow, Grow, and Show, the fruit of the Spirit here at Chapel by the Sea on Fort Myers Beach, Florida. I'm Dr. Jim Berger, the interim pastor. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have all of you with us here in person and those of you online. So we've been looking through at all the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And our format is Sow, Grow, and Show. We sow God's truth in our hearts, we grow it in our lives, and we show it in the way we live as day by day. And I'd like to remind you that the fruits of the Spirit are not like a row of fruits on a shelf. It's not like the produce section. This is more like a fruit bowl where everything's together and they all interact with each other and feed off each other, as we will see today. Today, we're picking up the study of gentleness, and we're going to find out how love, peace, patience, kindness, all these things blend together in gentleness. So it doesn't stand alone. It stands as part of the whole fruit basket, if you will. And gentleness is the most overlooked fruit of the Spirit, and not by a little bit. It's just taken for granted, and it's just seen as weakness and just bypassed. But the Bible has a lot to say about gentleness. It shows up Old Testament, New Testament, Jesus, the apostles, the prophets, the Psalms. Paul says, be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Patience, love, there it is again. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. And there's love, joy, peace, patience, all coming up again. He also said, let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. So when we talk about gentleness, we're talking about kindness, which we talked about last week, being tender, mild-mannered, compassionate, and considerate. It's also showing love and caring for others in the way we act and the way we speak. So it's very much an active part of our lives. It's not a passive idea, but to have a gentle spirit and nature about us. And like I said, some people view gentleness as being weak, but to the contrary, it involves humility and thankfulness toward God. It's going to involve polite, restrained behavior toward others. And what we discover when we start working on this is it takes great strength and of character. It takes a lot of self-control, which is next week's lesson, to be gentle in many situations. And this comes up a lot in social media. You know, when people online are much more willing to say nasty stuff than they would be in person. So gentleness is very much a part of how we interact, not just face-to-face, but digitally, online as well. Gentleness places our strength under God's guidance, and it's a powerful tool for God's kingdom. And that's because it constrains and channels that power that God brings to us. Gentleness keeps us from becoming self-aggrandizement. So because the opposites of gentleness are anger, a desire for revenge, and self-aggrandizement. That's why God's presence channels this power in gentleness. Another thing it does, gentleness diffuses conflict. So peacefulness, love, joy, peace, gentleness is very much a part of working for peace. Another way to describe it is gentleness is a strong hand with a soft touch, because it's the strong hand, not the weak one, that must learn to be gentle. Further, it's a tender, compassionate approach toward others' weaknesses and limitations. It's very much involved with the other person. Gentleness is not something you do alone. Gentleness is something we practice in the context of social environments. And instead of getting defensive, it reaches out, and the practice of gentleness diffuses the situation. And in the Bible, we find a very strong connection between gentleness and the power of words. And as I just said, we see that today in our social media. We see that today in our interactions with each other. Back in Proverbs, we're told a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So what we discover is our words can be life-giving. They can diffuse a tense situation. And that's because gentleness is going to demonstrate the Spirit at work in your life. So when we're practicing this, We know that God's Spirit is with us, and we're manifesting. We're showing it to others as we do this. The other thing it does, gentleness makes others more willing to listen to us. Gentleness opens the door because gentleness enables us to gain trust and respect. When you think about it, argumentation, fighting, that's going to destroy relationships. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy to rebuild and repair what we've broken down. When we respond with gentleness, there's the opportunity to build things up, to strengthen relationships rather than tear them down. All right, so that's what we're talking about. How do we practice gentleness? How do we show it? Okay, let's look at some ways. One, we can be considerate of the feelings and needs of others. This is where kindness comes in, patience, because we're open. Gentleness opens us to the other people and enables us to pay attention to them. We're going to show empathy. We're going to listen, acknowledge the other person's point of view, try to understand their feelings. So gentleness is other directed. It's looking at the other person, not at me. I'm not the focus. You are. Be patient. Gentleness requires a lot of patience because it means we're going to listen and try to understand the other person. So there's going to be disagreement, but we're seeking for resolution, understanding, and reconciliation. And remember the golden rule. Treat others the way you would like to be treated. Because gentleness requires us to recognize each other. Next, speak respectfully to everyone. It might seem obvious, but for some of us, that's a challenge. But God calls us to reach out with respect and understanding and compassion to those we meet. Keeping in our love, joy, we're going to seek peace. We're going to search for solutions and common ground. That means there's going to be a lot of forgiveness. There's going to be a lot of reconciliation involved in this. There's going to be a lot of conflict resolution as part of it. We're going to be gentleness calls us to be a calm presence with others. So when the situation is getting heated, the gentle person has the call to reach out and be the oil that soothes the water, calms the water. So we act with tenderness and love, right back to the beginning of the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, faithfulness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control. Another one is listen more than you speak. Not easy for us, because we want to get our 2 cents in there. But a key element is to be quiet and just let the other person speak and listen to what they have to say. Another one is be humble as you serve and as you care for others. It's not about how great I am. It's about listening to what you have to say and trying to understand your point of view. Gentleness is a tall order for all of us. But as we embrace it, we discover that as the fruit of God's Spirit, gentleness fills us with a new depth and a new understanding as we proceed. And, Paul tells us, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. In other words, use the fruits of the Spirit and live with it. Because gentleness is not a weakness, it's a strength. And it enables us to move forward, to confront the difficult and work through it. He continues, pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, steadfastness, and gentleness. Fight the good fight of faith. So he wants us to put all this on in order. This is the strength we have. Faith, love, gentleness. We are called to embrace those fruits of the Spirit and build them into our lives, because our character is going to reflect reflect us as a much better person. He reminds everybody to be subject to rulers and authorities, be obedient, to be ready to do whatever is good, to slander no one, to be peaceable and considerate, and always be gentle toward everyone. So gentleness is a big part of who we are to be as God's people. And again, even way back in Proverbs, we find gentle words are a tree of life. A deceitful tongue crushes the spirit, which is why Paul advises us, always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. To be gentle is to recognize how big God's view of the world is, how much bigger God's perspective is than ours. So as Isaiah says, the Lord tells us, your thoughts are not my thoughts and your ways are not my ways. So this calls us back to humility before God so that we can be kind and gentle with others as we meet them. Gentleness also means we give up the right to judge others. We just open to listen, to hear, and understand. It's not what's best for ourselves, it's what's for others. We listen and try to understand what's going on. And gentleness pushes us to a larger perspective on the world as we confront it. It's not all about me, because gentleness reminds us that God makes his rain to fall on the just and the unjust alike. God's going to use methods that we may not agree with, we may not understand, to achieve the divine objective. But he's going to use us to reach into the hearts of others as we are gentle with them. And Paul reminds us that that's how gentleness was, how he and the other apostles approached the believers. He says, we were gentle among you, like a mother caring for her little children, nurturing and caring and guiding and directing. Even Jesus affirmed his gentleness. He told his disciples, I am gentle and humble in heart. And even the apostle spoke of Jesus' gentleness. By the meekness and gentleness of Christ, I appeal to you, says Paul. So what we discover is gentleness calls us to an outreach, a mission that focuses on the other person, not on me, and focuses on what God calls us to do and who God calls us to be. Because a gentle person speaks the truth in a way that others can receive it. So we're not out there just trying to ram it down somebody's throat. Gentleness calls us to be open, to listen, to be interactive, to be responsive to the other person. And the bottom line of all this is, as God's people, as Christians, we are distinguished by gentleness. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, all weave together to make us into the people of God. So that's 8 of the 9. So next time, we're going to take up the last one, self-control. Not a popular topic, I'll tell you, in our world. We want to, it's all about me is all we hear. We're going to look at self-control next time and how that plays into our lives. Now, I'm going to take 2 weeks off, the last 2 weeks of August. So when we come back, we're going to start a new study. And this one is called Saints, Sinners, and Apostles, Finding Our Family of Faith. This is exploring our spiritual DNA. Who are our ancestors in the faith? Who are the people that led the way, that set up this whole church that we are part of? It's a fascinating study. I'm not going to stick to just the top 10, the top 12, the big guys. We're going to look at a bunch of the little people who make up our family of faith, our spiritual ancestors, as we continue with our Bible study here at Chapel by the Sea. So we're doing Sow, Grow, and Show. We got one more study to do. And I'm Dr. Jim Berger, and I hope you've enjoyed this. Leave me a comment if you're on Facebook, or drop me an email at the church email address. And join me next time for the conclusion to Sow, Grow, and Show. All right, any comments or thoughts?
Here's what I found interesting. That when you start at the beginning, it's not, we don't think about gentleness. And I didn't know it was in the Bible that much. And then I started watching all
the scripture references. Yeah.
References. They're from all over.
They're from all over. I know.
And that surprised me.
Me too.
I had to notice that word doesn't stand.
No, I'm the same way. I was surprised when I started studying this, how many times it's referenced.
I kept thinking, wow, that's going to be hard. And then I saw what's next. It's going to take a lot of self-control to be gentle.
It takes a lot of self-control to be gentle, yeah. Because we want to just
find that out next week.
Yeah, especially when you're in an argument, you want to go, I got to be gentle. I got to be gentle. Yeah, so if you've got a comment online, drop me a line on Facebook, or shoot an email, or you can direct message me if you'd like, text me. But thank you for joining us here at Chapel by the Sea on Fort Myers Beach. And we'll pick this up one more time before I take a break, and then we'll come back with Saints, Sinners, and Apostles. But for now, we're wrapping up Sow, Grow, and Show. So go out and show gentleness to someone today. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.